Hey, it's Bill, and you're tuned into episode number 605 of the Pennsylvania Rock Show, featuring the best unsigned rock and metal that Pennsylvania has to offer, right here on PARockShow.com, megarockradio.net, and 107.1 FM, St. Louis, Missouri, altrockradio.ca in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, xrpradio.co.uk in Birmingham, United Kingdom, and on the beaches of San Diego, California, we have rootaroораdio.com. And then right here in the thriving metropolis of Leechburg, Pennsylvania, you can go to buildthescene.com/radio. With me tonight on episode number 605 is Megan Pennington of Moonshine Jasmine. What's up, Megan?
Hello, good evening. I'm doing well. How are you tonight?
It's been a day.
I understand.
I think someone just commented on one of the videos with my name. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. So sometimes my students come across the videos, and tonight looks like it may be one of those nights.
Oh, excellent.
So it's been a little bit of time since I talked to you last.
Yes.
You have a new album that you've been working on. I saw it, and I kind of hesitate to bring this up, but I saw that there has been a lineup change.
There has been a lineup change, yes.
We won't go into much detail on that, but you could talk about who's in the band now if you'd like.
Well, of course. In the band right now, we have myself as lead singer and rhythm guitarist. Tyler Feathers is still in the band. He's our bass player, and he also sings. And we added Dwayne Otto on drums a few months before the new year, so he's still with us.
So tell me, is it a full-length album that you're putting out or an EP?
So the album that we put out, I'm not sorry, it's going to be consisting of 6 songs. So it's not going to be, too long. I'm going to be honest with you, my lingo is escaping me right now, so I don't know if that would be considered an EP or if that makes the cut for a full-length album, but it is a 6-track album that we're releasing.
I think that's kind of gray area.
Yeah.
So, man, again, I'm trying to avoid topics. Minus the first 2 days of recording the EP, how did the recording process go?
So we had 2 days in the studio with Very Tight, and we went down the first day. After we finally got settled into things, we actually brought in a studio drummer, Mike from Blackridge. He came in and did our drums. So it was Mike, myself, and Tyler. We went in the first day, we laid down all the tracks, and we kind of left ourselves in sort of a standby just in case our previous member was going to be able to participate, which ended up not happening, which, but the second day when we came back, so the first day when we were there, we kind of did the drums because we only had one day with Mike. We did drums and we did the rhythm section. So then when we came back the second day, we really pounded out the vocals, and then we actually had to record one song top to bottom as a last minute change, which was Tyler's song. So we ended up kind of doing all that, but yeah, we had 2 days to do it, and we ended up being able to not only get it done, but we had extra time to spare, thankfully. So,
Very Tight recordings. I know that's in the city, correct?
Yes, that is Matt Very out in Sharpsburg. Very, very nice studio. One of the best producers I've ever worked with.
I'm trying to. I want to say the Blackridge recorded their last EP there as well.
Yes, yeah. Actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, our ex-band member was actually in contact with Blackridge, who led us to them. So.
Sorry, there's comments popping up on the video, and I have no idea what they're talking about.
Oh, that's okay.
So, where I'm trying to, I have all those oddball questions, and I can't remember what I asked you. I'm going to go with the pizza question. Does that sound familiar at all?
No.
Okay. So, having been in a band, what is the best pizza you've eaten either prior to a show, at a show, or on your way home from a show?
Oh, well, I'll be honest. The best pizza was actually as a solo artist. I spent some time in Chicago, and Chicago's known for the deep dish, and I am a huge fan. So I got some really good deep dish from a place called Giordano's. It's kind of a mainstream place out there,
I
and
I there's another one that starts with an M, I think.
yeah, I can't remember the name of that one, but yes.
I think I had that one, the one with the M when I
Okay,
was there. I can't remember
nice.
Melnor. I don't remember, but
I'm gonna remember in like 3 hours,
yeah,
and I'll send you a message. But
but
yeah, the deep dish was my favorite pizza that I've ever gotten on the road, and to this day, I that's not gonna change.
um, having let me think. Yeah, we're gonna go with the build the scene official question,
Okay,
which I'm sure I did ask you, but your answer may change.
that's fine.
Um, who is your Dave Grohl? In other words, who would you want to go up on stage with and perform one of their originals?
Um, hmm. Well, that depends really. When we play as a group as it is, we do play an original that wasn't written by me. Tyler wrote it, and I quite enjoy playing that one. But if we're picking like celebrity artists,
Mm-hmm.
I hmm man, if we're talking about celebrity artists who are currently alive, I'd love to play with Susan Tedeschi and play one of her originals.
Um, here's a hot topic. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Every year they release the names of who the nominees are, and every year it turns into why is this person on there? Why isn't that person on there? This year Dolly Parton is the nominee.
I saw
Um,
that.
huge Dolly fan, love Dolly, but it has rock and roll in its name, and
Yeah.
and she even released something saying, "I don't understand why I'm nominated for this."
Oh, see, I didn't know that, but I have to agree. It's okay for like Johnny Cash because he was a little rough around the edges. But like when I walk in to see Hank Williams, Dolly Parton will be in there. That's just there's a country Hall of Fame in Nashville for a reason.
I think what would solve their problem if they just change it to the Music Hall of Fame,
Yeah, consolidated.
because
Yeah.
really that's what they're doing.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, Dolly deserves every award she can get.
Oh, absolutely. Dolly Parton is a saint living and breathing on this planet. But again, she's not making rock tracks. Now, if she started to, I'd be full send into it for sure.
Have you seen any performances out of her recently?
Recently, no, I'll be honest.
I watched a documentary where like they showed some live footage from her.
Mm.
She is still amazing, and she still looks like she did like in early days. Like if you look, I don't know how she did it. She might be a
Yeah.
vampire.
That's all right. She's doing good with her powers, so we'll let it happen.
Um, so if you leave one of your shows and you're carrying your stuff back to your car and you walk past the DeLorean with its door up and a flux capacitor in it, you have to get in there, right?
Well, of course.
Where are you going to go? What part of time are you headed to, and what band are you going to see?
I'm gonna go back to 19. If memory serves me, 1974. I think that's when the Grateful Dead played the Winterland concert. I want to go see that.
I was at a curriculum meeting, and one of the social studies teachers asked me if I could go back in time, where I would go and why. That's where that came from.
Nice.
And he meant like historical events, and I told him Woodstock.
Nice. See, I want to go to Woodstock, but if I was to be real specific, the Winterland shows themselves were my absolute favorite performance by the Grateful Dead. So
I think I would go to Woodstock, but clearly I wouldn't stay till the end because I don't think I would want to be in that situation.
No, they were bringing in helicopters to bring people in, and they were parked for miles down the highway. I wouldn't want to be stuck in the middle of that.
We'll stick with the movie theme for a moment. So you're sitting on a bench, and your musical idol sits down beside you, kind of like Forrest Gump, and he starts. Forrest talks about the chocolates, and you get a lot of insightful information from him in that scene. But you can ask your idol one question only to start them going on their story to tell you. What question are you going to ask that person, and who is it?
I would want to sit next to George Jones, and I would ask him, how did you keep your best face forward despite all the obstacles you came across?
Cool. What is a song that you didn't write that you wish you would have written?
Sticking with the George Jones theme, I wish I could have written "He Stopped Loving Her Today."
Why that song?
That song, in my opinion, is one of the most beautifully composed pieces of country music, and I know that, from folks that are my grandparents' age to folks that are, my little brother's age, everybody's heard that song somewhere. So, it's stuck through the generations, and it holds a lot of meaning.
This next question might read into it however you like.
Okay.
Okay. So an apocalyptic event happens, and it wipes out almost every human on Earth. And there's a handful of people left. And it also takes out all but one song from every band in existence, ever. Which one of your songs will survive and help those people that are left repopulate the Earth?
Help repopulate the Earth. It's a song that we're going to be releasing on the album. It's called Until the End. And ironically, the title kind of fits in with the apocalypse.
What is something that happened on stage, whether it's something you did or someone else in one of your bands along the lines did, that embarrassed you while you were up there?
Oh, man. I was in a group. We called ourselves the Megan Pennington Band. I know it's conceited. But at the time, I had a drummer in the band. And that was probably, not to throw shade at myself, that was probably my best Fleetwood Mac impression, if you will. And he and I were only in the band together because he was dating me, and he was actually not that good at playing drums at all. And so when we would go gig, I'd be pepping him up. Oh, you're going to do great, babe. It's going to sound awesome. And then it would sound like I haven't played music a day in my life. And that didn't last very long.
So I once met Gene Simmons.
Nice.
And contrary to most interactions you hear about him, it actually went pretty well. I went to a book signing, and he wanted to know about the camera that I had, how it worked. So I ended up talking to him for like 15 minutes, whereas, they try and shuffle you away. He just kept asking questions, and they kept looking at me like, you need to move. And I'm like, but he's talking. Who's the most famous musician you ever met?
I got to open for Casey Abrams 2 different times, and both times that I opened for him, we actually ended up hanging out, and I have his number in my phone. So, yeah, that's the most famous person I got to hang out with.
Cool. Before we go too much further into this, let's talk about the song that we're going to feature tonight, "Whole Lot of Trouble." This is like your MTV moment. Tell me something about the song or about the recording process, or just give the listeners some insight into it.
Sure. So, "A Whole Lot of Trouble" is a song that I wrote. I was sitting in my old studio out in Chicago, Blue Island specifically, and a friend of mine was having a hard time with an ex-girlfriend, and I felt really bad. And wanted to make him smile. So I sat down, wrote this song, and played it for him, and he fell in love. So I took it to the band, and we ended up recording it. And on this track, it's myself, Tyler Feathers, and Mike from Blackridge. So yeah.
I think Conrad, is that his last name?
Yes, Mike Conrad.
All right, so we're going to take a minute and listen to A Whole Lot of Trouble by Moonshine Jasmine, and we'll be right back. For those of you that are watching the video, you don't actually get to hear the music right now. You'll have to go to the website on Friday starting at 6 a.m. It's buildthescene.com. It'll be on the top left. I rearranged the way the homepage is set up, but it'll be the top left, the very first thing that you can click on that isn't part of the menu. And when you click on that, it'll take you to the show notes page, and there's a player there. Or if you want to listen to it on a streaming radio station, or if you're in St. Louis, there are times posted on for all of the different stations on the PA Rock Show portion of the Build the Scene website. If you get a podcast, click on episodes under PA Rock Show. It'll get you there. All right, with that said, we're going to come back as if we were listening to that song. All right, so that was A Whole Lot of Trouble by Moonshine Jasmine. With me tonight is Megan Pennington from that band. So, Megan, I've asked you some odd questions so far. Let's go with something that I'm going to give you a cliche question. Sure. Like if you're on the mainstream radio, they ask this to everybody.
Okay.
Who would you cite as your influences?
I have a couple. I grew up listening to the old country music, so George Jones is the first to come to mind. I listened to a lot of Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn. And from my Nana, I got a lot of Motown and, that early rock. So I got Elvis Presley, The Temptations. And then when I got to college, I kind of found my own way. And, I pulled some influence from like the Grateful Dead, Janis Joplin, more modernly, Susan Tedeschi. So yeah, I kind of jive in that boat. And I almost forgot the most important lady, Miss Shania Twain.
I'm not I was talking about Dolly Parton earlier, but I'm not a huge country fan, especially modern country.
Yes.
Mostly because it sounds more like pop music to me, and that pop is not my thing. It's my daughter's thing. They're 11. But I would go see Shania Twain, and that's not really modern, but it's more new than what I would normally say I would go see.
She did just release some music within the last 5 years, and if I'm not mistaken, she did tour last year or 2 years ago, and I think she's about to tour again. So she's kind of modern. She's kind of making a comeback.
Like I would love to see like Garth Brooks or Alan Jackson, or Brooks and Dunn. That era.
Yeah.
And then of course the older stuff like Johnny Cash and Hank Williams Jr. and that area too. Jeff or Christopherson. What's his first name?
Chris Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson. The Highwaymen. If they were in that band, I would go see them live. Willie Nelson.
Yeah, I missed an opportunity to see Willie. I was kind of mad about that. I'd see him in a heartbeat.
Anybody that has a guitar that he's played that long that he's worn a hole into it.
I know. I was actually just told that story the other day, funny enough.
And his guitar has a name. It's Trigger.
Yes, Trigger.
Does your guitar have a name?
I'm going to be honest. I have named 2 of my guitars in my time. And the first one I had to pawn because I was stuck with no gas money. And the other one broke on me. So I have not had very good luck with named guitars.
So no more names.
No.
That's you're standing at a crossroads waiting for the devil, or depending on who you talk to, the demon who comes in between the two realms. And you're there to acquire something. What are you trying to sell your soul for?
I'd probably do what Robert Johnson did and sell my soul for fame.
See, I didn't even bring up his name, and you pulled that out of that. That's exactly what I was going with. So usually, I get two reactions. I either get an immediate reaction like you, or I get, oh, I'm not selling my soul to the devil. And then I'm like, look, it's just a metaphor.
Yeah, hey.
What is a non-conventional place that you would like to perform? And I'll give you two examples off the top of my head. Metallica once played in Antarctica, and Kiss played in the ocean to sharks.
2 sharks.
Yes.
Nice. That's really cool. Let me think. It'd be really cool to, like, I don't know, play on like a big hot air balloon just up in the sky. Just like floating across the city or something with really big speakers where everyone can hear you.
I was just watching something yesterday. I can't remember what artist it was, but their song was recorded and put into a rocket and launched into space.
Nice.
I can't remember who it was. I wish I could. So like, that song is all over the universe.
Yeah, literally.
If this one's going to take some real suspended belief, and you might not want it to actually happen. Let's say you go out on tour, and for some reason I'm driving the tour bus.
Okay.
Most people will tell you not to get in. I have some bad luck. Not recently, but I've had some bad luck. And we're going from tour stop to tour stop. What are we going to listen to in between stops?
Oh, that depends on the mood I'm in. When I'm on the road, I like a lot of like trucking songs, honestly. Tyler likes to listen to a lot of metal, so we kind of the playlist is really all over the place. I wish I could give you a decisive answer on that.
So it's kind of like watching my show where you can go from acoustic and folk and blues to metal.
Exactly.
Anything in between.
Exactly.
I could live with that. I sneak some country in here. I've had reggae on the show once.
Ooh, nice.
And that was back when I did it in person. So it was a person from Jamaica originally. He was in a band called the Swampers, who are fairly well known. But he wouldn't show me his dreads. He wouldn't take his hat off. And our mutual friend had to sit here and tell me what he was saying because his accent was so thick.
Oh, wow. That must have been really cool, though.
It was very cool. Let me think. One of my students asked me this today, except they asked it in a sports situation. But who would be your Mount Rushmore musicians? So 4 best musicians ever in your eyes.
Okay, this is gonna probably throw you off. I would definitely want to put Beethoven up there because that's my main man from like the beginning of music. Love me some Beethoven. Elvis Presley. Put Sunhouse up there. And oh man, it's a toss up between Janis Joplin and Malvina Brooks. Was that her last name? No, Malvina Reynolds. That's what her name was. It's a toss up between those two.
See, sometimes I ask a question and I sit here going, how would I answer that? I don't know if I could answer that.
Yeah, that was a tough choice.
Let's go with 1 or 2 more questions, and then we'll talk about where your EP can be, or where your music, since we couldn't decide if it was an EP or an LP, where it can be found. Sure. So, man, I had one recently. My wife gave me the question. I can't remember it now. Of course. She heard it on another podcast. She's like, you should ask this. And of course not. It's not going to come until we're off the air at this point. All right. Let's go with this. Can you tell me about the moment you realized that you wanted to be a musician?
Well, I'm not sure. And I say that because when I was a little kid, I would sing everywhere I went. Right. And my grandparents saw that I had, a taste in music. So they bought me this little karaoke machine. And when I was a kid, this makes me feel old to say this, but when I was a kid, it was a device that you could pop cassette tapes in, and the cassette tapes were karaoke tracks. So you would just record over it, and it would like make a tape of you singing. So I used to use that, and like from that day, I always decided that I wanted to be a singer. But it wasn't until I was well into high school, and I actually picked up a guitar my junior year, that I decided that I was actually going to take singing and incorporate it into an actual, business for myself, and become a musician on the road.
Cool. I always wanted to be a drummer, but that has changed recently. But anyway, I always wanted to be a drummer, but I was doing way too many things. So when I approached my parents, they're like, if you're going to do that, then something else has to go. And in their defense, I was playing soccer, baseball, football. I was a Boy Scout. So
that's a lot. Yeah.
Right. But it's the funny story is my son, who's now 13, but he was probably like 2, started showing that he was into music, and my parents bought him a drum kit.
Oh.
I was like, hey.
Grandparents do that all the time. My parents do that to my son every chance they get.
Yeah, and I said to him, I was like, hey, I asked for a drum kit. But let's see, one more, and then we'll find out about where to get the music. This is your moment where you can tell the listeners why they should check out your band. What are you going to tell them?
Well, Moonshine Jasmine is Pittsburgh's regionally touring bluesy folk band. Tyler and I have been working together for a very long time, so we've had a whole lot of time to perfect our sound and our flow together. And with Dwayne, he's an old rocker from the 80s and 90s, so he brings a whole new idea to the wave of music, and we mesh really well together. And when we're at these shows, whether it be a dive bar or like this weekend we're playing a festival in Chicago, it doesn't matter where we are, who you are, or what you got going on. We're all there for one reason, and that's to have fun, listen to music, and hope that my squiggly lines can make your squiggly lines feel a little bit better.
I like that last part. All right, so where can the listeners get a hold of your music? Where's the best place for them to go check it out?
So Moonshine Jasmine's new album, I'm Not Sorry, will be released this Friday. It's going to be found on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, all those mainstream streaming sites, as well as like Deezer and things like that. You can also find the album. We'll have TikTok sounds for each song, so you'll find that as well. But we do post everything to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Moonshine Jasmine, as well as our YouTube page. So just type in Moonshine Jasmine YouTube or to Google, and you'll be able to find the album, all 6 songs, including 5 that I sang and 1 that Tyler sang.
I don't know if you see it on the video right below me. I just popped up your website address as well.
Yes.
I'm assuming that they can find the majority of that once it's ready to go.
Yeah, we'll have everything on www.moonshinejasmine.com. We also have some current merch on that website, tour dates, and our previous album, the Before Moonshine Jasmine album we produced.
Hey, Megan, I want to thank you for hanging out with me for a little bit tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. And for those of you that are hanging out with us, make sure that once you're on the radio show segment, that you hang out after the show's over, show the radio stations a little bit of support, listen to some independent and unsigned music that you might not have an opportunity to listen to otherwise. And, by showing this show support and showing the station support, you're showing support to all those artists. And maybe you'll find your new favorite band. With that being said, this has been episode number 605 of the Pennsylvania Rock Show. Up next, you're going to hear some more of the best unsigned rock and metal that Pennsylvania has to offer. When you hear John the American Hill Jack Lane talking about subscribing and leaving comments, you'll know that this episode has ended. And like I said, don't go anywhere. Keep listening to the station. And we will see you next week for episode number 606. Thanks again, Megan.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.